Shalom, shalom, shalom. This is Brother Amram Carr coming at you with a impromptu lesson. As you can see, at the time I'm doing this, I was about to actually go to sleep, and I saw this video coming from my YouTube, and I'm going to play it for you now. And yeah, man, I mean, look, the truth is out there, as they say in the X-Files, man. And now these devils are starting to really see, and they're taking it serious. Right? And look at the headline, man. UFO hearing, witness claims we were seconds away from World War III. Well, in terms of the Lord's time, yeah, we are seconds away from World War III. Alright, but let me play this now. And this is obviously about the chariots, and I've checked the comments, and not anyone in the comments understands or knows about what they truly are. They keep talking about aliens and Epstein files. Like, look, as bad as what that man did, yeah, there's things that are going on now still. What he did, there's people still doing that, and these politicians and these entertainers and people, business people, and they're still doing that stuff right now, man. So the Epstein files ain't gonna stop that. All right. But let's just play
Today,
this.
I want to state clearly that this is not science fiction or creating speculation. This is about national security, government accountability, and the American people's right to the truth.
This was taken October 30th of 2024. This video is of an MQ-9 drone tracking an orb, or this object, off the coast of Yemen. You'll see that another MQ-9 launched a Hellfire missile. You cannot see that drone.
Are you aware of anything in the government, United States government arsenal that can split a Hellfire missile like this?
No.
And do whatever blob thing it did and then keep going? Nothing?
Nothing.
All right, how about you, Chief Wiggin?
See what that just did there? And it's appropriate. The name Hellfire. Because that's what this place is, man. Hell. Alright, that chariot flew straight into that missile, split it in half and made it obsolete. Didn't even explode, it just hit it, just turned it off, split it in half and went about its business, man. They're dealing with something that's controlled spiritually. It doesn't work like the technology works. That's why they don't understand it, and they're always trying to understand things, and they're not meant to understand everything. That's why they tell you that they've gone to the moon, and they sent probes into outer space, into other galaxies, solar systems and whatnot, to peep out what's going out there. Like they talk about, they know what's in the core of the earth and at the depths of the sea, the places they've never been to. Alright, things they've never seen. But that's Esau, man. He believes himself to be the Most High. Let's play on.
Nothing to my knowledge, ma'am.
Okay, and how about you, Mr. Borland?
I prefer to answer that in a skiff.
I have heard about events like this. I have heard about this event. Jeremy Corbell and I talked about it in one of our episodes a while back. We did not have the video, though. There are servers where there's a whole bank of these kind of videos that Congress has not been allowed to see, that the public hasn't been allowed to see. Occasionally some of that stuff gets out in the wild and it comes our way. It should be going to you. The public should be seeing this stuff. Why you're not allowed to, I don't know. But that's a Hellfire missile smacking into that UFO and just bounced right off. And it kept going.
It kept going, and it looks like the debris was taken with it.
Yeah, what the hell is that? The public has been told over and over since the late 40s, there's nothing to worry about here. These mysterious craft seen by millions of people in the skies, in the oceans, over the land, are not real. They're not a threat. The witnesses are wrong. They're crackpots. Don't believe it. That changed for me. What got me hooked is the paper trail. Documents that were squeezed out of the U.S. government after the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, became the law of the land. And those documents paint a much different picture than what the public, the press, and Congress have been told over many years. The documents from military and intelligence personnel behind closed doors admit that, quote, these things are real. They're not fictitious. They can fly in formation, they're evasive, and they outperform any aircraft known to exist, including ours.
You heard that?
The public, of course, as I said, has been told something much different. You know, back in 1989, I reported about a guy named Bob Lazar, who claimed that he worked at a facility dubbed S4 out in the Nevada desert, very near to Area 51. He said he was part of a reverse engineering program. He said there are alien craft that will be taken apart to figure out how they operated out there. It's been widely reported and suspected that Lockheed Martin is one of the contractors, the defense contractors, that has held this stuff, stored it away in secrecy.
Now that is something I do not believe. You know, unless the Lord has allowed them to, to see one of these things up close like that. I don't believe that they've crashed or anything like that by way of failure of the technology of the craft of the chariots, man. All right, these are perfect. It's perfect technology. It's the technology of Yahweh Shemir Shai, man. So they're not going to just crash. If so, let's just say they do have something, which I don't believe they do. You know, that's of the will of the Lord for whatever reason He deemed fit for them to see something like that up close. But I think that's a lie.
And tried to figure out how it works. We had managed to get inside of it. It had no wings, no rotor, no tail. It had no fuel tanks. They didn't know how it flew or how it was operated.
And that's beautiful, because that could actually change my mind on them actually having something. Because the Lord moves, as they say in the world, the Lord does move mysteriously, man. All right, and the way He described that having no fuel or anything like that, no rotors, nothing like no engine. Well, it's described in Ezekiel, man. So let me pause that there, and let me actually get some scriptures, man. Let's get this one real first because it's here, and I want to go to Ezekiel because it's going to describe, how the chariots work, man. So this is Jeremiah 4:13, just a quick one. It says, behold, he shall come up as clouds, and his chariots shall be as a whirlwind. His horses are swifter than eagles. Woe unto us, for we are spoiled. Yeah, because them chariots are just going to bring destruction upon Babylon, especially, alright, by way of the swiftness and the lasers that are going to come out of those things, man. Alright, they're going to be undefeated. We don't want to get that, actually. We don't want a description of the angels. Let's get the actual chariot. So Ezekiel 1:15 says, now as I beheld the living creatures, meaning the angels, behold one wheel upon the earth, by the living creatures with his four faces. It says, the appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the colour of beryl, and they four had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. And when they went upon their four sides, and they turned not when they went. For as they, you see them moving in all directions. They don't have to turn around to do that. They can just move, left, right, up, down, diagonal, whatever direction they want to go. They don't have to turn. The vehicle doesn't have to turn. The chariot doesn't have to turn to do that. It can just move in any way it wants to move, man. It says, as for their rings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and their rings were full of eyes round about them four. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went by them, and when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Whithersoever the spirit was to go, they went. Thither was their spirit to go, and the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. So it's not a case of them having to dock up on the father ship and put fuel in the chariots, man. What purpose would that be? These are spiritual beings and spiritual vehicles, man, from the highest power, man. Right? So there is no engine, there is no fuel. It's controlled by a spirit. When those went, these went, and when those stood, these stood, and when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them, for the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. So there you go. You see, this is the true learning here, man. This is the true learning and understanding. These devils are trying to reverse engineer. You can't reverse engineer the spirit of the angels, man. You know. Let's get back to the video, and I'm gonna get some more precepts, of course.
It clearly looked like it was aerodynamic. It's not ours. It wasn't ours. We didn't make it. We didn't know who made it and how it was built and how it operated. A lot of this stuff has been moved out of government. Sure. As you know, Burchett, it's been given to private contractors who stashed it away. They've had it for so long that there's nobody left inside government, or very few, who know where it is.
And they do that to keep us from FOIA, correct?
Yeah, it's to keep it from FOIA. And I think that the contractors who've had this stuff for a very long time set their own standards about who is allowed to know what. And it's a very small group that ever cracks that. There was an incident in October of 1982 over at ICBM base where UFOs popped up, was observed over this base where the missiles are pointed at us, United States. These UFOs perform incredible maneuvers. They split apart, they fuse back together, they'd appear and disappear, and right at the end of this 4-hour period, the launch control codes for the ICBMs lit up. Something entered the correct codes, the missiles were fired up and ready to launch, and they could not shut it down. The Russian officers were panicking. The UFOs they disappeared. The launch control system goes back to normal. Colonel Sokolov and his team came in, took the thing apart, could not figure out what it was. It wasn't a power surge or EMPs or some of the baloney excuses that our country has given for similar events involving our nuclear missiles. They thought it was a message from wherever the UFOs were from. And
it was a message, man. Let's get that, because ultimately the reason why the World War III hasn't kicked off yet is because that's under the control of Yahweh Shem Shai. So those angels, man, are showing you that they're in control of those missile silos, man. They're in control of those ICBMs, alright? They're the ones that are going to let them off when the time is right. This is Revelation 7:1. It says, "And after these things I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth." The four winds, that represents that destruction, that nuclear destruction that's about to go down. Right? So they're holding it back, man. They're saying, no, you can't press any big red buttons, right, to make these things go off without the say-so of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, man, through His Son Yahweh Shai. Alright, you can't do that. We are here to stop that, right? But we can show you that we have the power to control them. And then they did that, and what do? They shut it down, and they just get up right out of there, man. It says that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. Right? And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living power Yahweh, and he cried with a loud voice to the four angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, "Hurt not the earth, neither the sea nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our power in their foreheads." Right? And I'm going to read the next verse, so it's the context. Revelation 7:4, it says, "And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and they were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel." So the elect are only from the children of Israel, man. The 12 tribes. So nothing's going to go down anyway until the elect are sealed, man. Alright, so let's get back to that.
That's a chilling thing. I mean, we were a couple of seconds away from World War III starting, and the UFOs were responsible for it.
Between 2003 and 2005, 5 UAP incidents occurred at Vandenberg Air Force Base, home to the National Missile Defense Project, a top national security priority. At the time, we were conducting launches deemed by the National Reconnaissance Office as the most important in 25 years. The incursions began on October 14, 2003, when Boeing contractors reported a massive glowing red square silently hovering over 2 missile defense sites. After several minutes, it drifted further east onto the base and vanished over the hills. This event, now known as the Vandenberg Red Square, was referenced by Representative Luna at the first hearing on this topic.
And, another point to make, so I get to keep cutting it, but, the scripture's got to come out, man. Look what the chariots are doing, man. They're effectively showing them that there is a power that is more powerful than them, and he's around war, basically, man. He's we're dealing with the God of war, basically, man. The real God of war. Let's get this real quick. They think they know about warfare, man. This is the ultimate man of war, man. This is Exodus 15:3. It says the Lord Yahweh is a man of war. Yahweh is his name, right? And there's two things in there. Obviously when the Lord in all caps, that's talking about the Lord's name, Yahweh, man, which means he is, or he exists, right? And it says he is a man, right? So with that BS talk, with this New Age talk, where you got these feminists saying that God is a woman and all this madness, man. They're just trying to be controversial anyway. But anyway, just to make that point, man, the Lord is the God of war, man. Alright, it's that simple. He's the God of war. Let's see if we can finish this off.
Official Air Force records of this event are in possession by Aero and the FBI. Later that night, while I was on duty, security guards at a critical launch site reported a bright, fast-moving object over the ocean. I responded to the incident. Chaos ensued over the radio as the object approached rapidly. I heard my friends screaming, "It's coming right at us, it's coming right for us, and now it's right here." Moments later, I heard them say that it had shot off and was gone. When I arrived on scene, I talked to 5 shaken witnesses who described a massive triangular craft larger than a football field that hovered silently for about 45 seconds over their entry control point before shooting away at impossible speed. The witnesses to this event were threatened and intimidated afterward.
On the base, I lived in the barracks. There was a little smoke pit outside. I was there on the telephone and looking across to the flight line, and I see a white light pop up and stop about 100 feet in the air. I thought it was a weather balloon. The light then flies across the base, across the flight line, and as it flies to me, a triangle manifests around the light. I can't tell you.
You see now, you can tell in this man's eyes and the way he's talking that he ain't BSing, man. This is all facts. He saw this. You can see the fear on him, man. Look at him. He's sweating. Yeah, it might be hot in there, but no, man, you can see in his countenance, it's telling you he saw something and he's afraid, man. And they should be afraid.
If his active camouflage, I can't tell you if it appeared around the light, but I can tell you that it was a white light and then it was a triangle. It stopped about 100 feet in front of me and approximately 100 feet above me. My telephone got extremely hot, completely froze, dead. I remember how thick it was. It was between 1 to 2 stories thick, equilateral triangle. I could never see the top of it, and the edges were 90 degrees. There were 4 lights in total. one light on each corner and a larger light in the center, 2 to 3 times the size of the corner lights. But what was really odd was the outside. The best way to describe it is like looking at a James Webb telescope picture where you have the colors and then the black background. So the craft itself was this black metallic flake paint, but on top of the craft was this gold, lava, plasma, some type of fluid going over and around the craft. I'm under this for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then the center light flashes 2 to 3 times, no sound, immediately shoots up to commercial jet level minimum, in my opinion, and I immediately feel static electricity all over my body, and then I smell the smell of after a thunderstorm or lightning storm, that really strong summer thunderstorm smell.
And do you think that, in your opinion, that the equilateral triangle was the U.S. government's technology?
Now this idiot, we're not going to even listen to it anymore because she's just trying to play it off as some technology, Earth technology, when she's already been, this is why women are supposed to be in these positions, man. She's already been told the maneuvers of this thing, that it's nothing like any technology that's on the Earth, right? What they're talking about is something that can't be created by human hands, man, alright? But this fool of a woman wants to start asking stupid questions. Look at her, because she thinks she's so smart. So we're going to skip all of that, and that's really the basis of this video. But yeah, look, the title's there. Watch it for yourself. Yeah, man, this is beautiful times, man. So, let's get into the scriptures, man. Get a few out, because, there's always a few, more than a few, dealing with chariots, man. So, we've got to go here. Revelation 1:7, it says, Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so on. Right, because the wailing is going to become because of that fear. You saw the fear in that man's eyes, man. When these chariots are revealed on earth, the people are going to lose their minds, man. Especially when they start mashing up the place. Alright? People are going to lose their minds. And it says, and they also which pierce him, because we're talking about the reincarnation, man. So those that, remember, Yahushua wants revenge, man. Now, people done him dirty, man. There's righteous anger, righteous indignation, man. And he has that. And he wants to come back and deal with the people that did him dirty, man. And those people that centurion that, or centurions that, did him dirty in that moment of his crucifixion, man, they're going to pay for that. Alright, so let's go to 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, man, because it's a pretty long one, so I want to try and get into this. 2nd Ezra 13:1, it says, And it came to pass after 7 days I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof, and I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he had turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. And saying that, I've got to get what is it in Psalms? I've got to get this just to coincide, man. Psalm 68 and 17. It says, The chariots of the Most High are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them as in Sinai in the holy place. So there's endless amounts of chariots to go up against this wicked society, man, especially Babylon the Great, which has to be completely obliterated in that war to come. And it's not really going to be a war, because wars usually, either 2 or more sides are going against each other, whereas this is going to be just completely one-sided, man. Regarding the earthly hosts, armies against the heavenly host, man. The heavenly armies, man. There's no contest. They could obliterate this whole planet. Remember, the scripture says that Babylon's going to be destroyed within an hour. Let's get back to Second Ezra's 13th chapter. And it says, verse 4 says, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burnt that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feedeth the fire. Right, so that's that laser beams that we're always talking about, man. Where do you think the movies get that from, man? And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of a number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. I mean, that sea's talking about coming through from outer space, man. Verse 6, but I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew up upon it. So lucky I've got a bit of a sore throat. And that great mountain is talking about the size of the chariot itself. So big, as we're going to get into. He says, but I would have seen the regional place whereat the hill was graven, and I could not, because it was so large. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. They have to want to fight, man. That's what's going to make it more satisfying for the Most High to destroy this place, man. So the Spirit's going to be put on them to fight. And lo, as he saw, this is verse 9, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his head, I don't know what's going on there. I think I had this cursor over it. He neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, as it had been, a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. And they were almost together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burnt them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Right, so you remember, if you've seen the movie War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, you see how the chariots, the creatures that come out of the ground, that were coming out of chariots that landed, were firing up their laser beams, man. Were just obliterating people, man, disintegrating them into dust, just like it says in the scriptures, man. So you know they're getting the knowledge from the scriptures to make these movies, man. So yeah, man. I mean, listen. I got to that gets to the point. Let me get a few more scriptures, and I want to close this one out. But yeah, the realization of this truth now is coming out. Let's get this. I haven't read this in a while. Where are we? Isaiah 66 and 15 says, for behold, the Lord Yahweh will come with fire. Or the Lord, let me read it again. For behold, the Lord Yahweh will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. We just read that he's going to turn many into dust. He's not playing when he's coming back, man. This whole image of that white Jesus coming back, floating down out of the clouds, man. with open arms to greet the children. That's not how it's going to go down. And the reason why they depict it like that, because they don't understand what the clouds are. The clouds represent those chariots, man. Verse 17 says, they that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree, in the midst, eating swine's flesh, and the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Lord. So basically, you know, all those sinners, man, you know, we're all sinners, but all those that are sinning willfully, you know, behind one tree, that's hiding, man. You know, you're trying to secretly sin, you know. So that's how you know we fear the Lord, man, because there could be, you know, you could say you're in this truth, and you could go home, and you could be eating pork and shrimp and all that other madness, man. But we fear the Lord too much to even, you know, I've bought food sometimes by accident that contains things that we somewhat not supposed to eat. You know, 9 times out of 10 it's been swine, man. And the Lord has had it just in time that I've checked deeper into the ingredients, just as I'm about to make this thing, man. And it's my dinner, right? But, you know, just in time the Lord puts the Spirit on me to check it. I check it, and it's always happened this way. I check it, and it's, you know, I can say it's happened more than 5 times in this time in the truth, man. Because sometimes Esau puts the ingredients down, but he's not really just telling you everything. You have to look deeper. I remember one time I bought this ready-made spaghetti bolognese. No, just a bolognese it was. I was going to cook up the pasta myself. And when I was about to cook it, I read the ingredients for some reason. Well, it was not for some reason, it was the Spirit of the Most High that led me to do so. And it said it had pork juice in it. Pork juice, man. I mean, what the hell is pork juice, man? Anyway, long story short, I threw that in the bin, man. Like I've done with all the stuff that I've ever found like that. Because we fear the Lord first, man, before anything else, man. So I'm not about to, you know, eat that shit. And regarding Jacob's trouble and that, when times are tough, man, same thing's going to occur, man. You know, we're not going to get into an abandoned supermarket that may have some tins still left lying around and, you know, eat the pork because we're hungry, man. No. The scripture says that my servants shall eat, man. The Lord said that. So we ain't got to worry about food. Anyway. You know, I mean, that's the point there, man. I mean, that's why Yahweh Shai is coming back in them things, man, to set things right. You know, and it has to be done by destruction, man. And yeah, these things are going to be not just for destruction of this place, but for salvation, man. So we've got to get a couple of scriptures on that, then I'll close out, man. So Revelation 15:1 says, and I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of Yahweh. And I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of Yahweh Hashem Yahshua. So that sea of glass, right? That's the firmament, and the fire is the fire that's that lake of fire, man, which is Babylon burning up. You know, Babylon's going to be burning up so bad it's going to look like a you know, just a whole lake of flames, man. You know. So this is First Thessalonians 4:13. It says, but I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep, that ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. For if we believe that Yahweh died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Yahweh will Yahweh bring with him. Right? So we read this to say that there's seats on the chariots, man, not only for the living, but those that have passed on to the spirit realm. We're going to be raised from the spirit realm, of the elect, because some of the elect are going to perish before, or have perished before the return of Yahweh. Right? But they're going to be raised up to see him in his glory and to see the victory over the beast, man, which is Esau, Edom, man, that system. Verse 15 says, for this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep, meaning that they have this spot already, man. Just because they pass on, it doesn't mean they're no longer the elect. So the same promises for the elect are still concerning them, man. Verse 16 says, for the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of Yahweh, and the dead in Hamashiach shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds, meaning the chariots, to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Wherefore comfort one another with these words. So, yeah, man. Yeah. So we're waiting for. That's what we're waiting for, man. All willing, I'm of the elect. You have to say it like that. We have to believe that we are, but we have to say Lord willing, man. Because, it's up to the Lord at the end of the day. They're already chosen, we just don't know who they are. But yeah, man, the chariots, they're not new to us. We know what they are. We've seen them many a time. And that's the mind of Esau, man. It's like, if he doesn't know, if he doesn't know what he's dealing with, he always has to try and put it down. Earthly technology, but they're going to find out. They're going to find out that they're not in control. Of anything, I'm just trying to find one more scripture. If I can't find it straight away, then I'm not gonna. In fact, let me just see if I can find something else, just to close out on. In fact, I'm going to get this one real quick, because this is, this is yeah. I'm going to read all this, but this is Obadiah, and I'll start at, let's just start from the top. It says, the vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord Yahweh concerning Edom, we have heard a rumor from the Lord Yahweh, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Right? That's going to happen. That's what we're talking about regarding them chariots, man. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? You know, prideful, man. They got to know. They can, if they don't know, they can lie to you and tell you that they know, because they have to be the ones. No, they have to be the Illuminati, the illuminated ones, the ones enlightened. And let's just get to the point, man. And actually, no, let's go to 8. It says, shall I not in that day, saith the Lord Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and the understanding out of the mountain of Esau? And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed. And that Teman, that's representing those Germans, man, you know, who are the elite when it comes to the technology, but it's not the way anymore. And they you know, whatever they think they know is nothing in comparison to what the truth is, right? To the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. Says, yeah, we always talk about Esau Edom, and Esau Edom isn't just America, it isn't just England, or some of the people of Scotland, or some of the people of Ireland, or Wales, right? It's the so-called French, the Germans, some of them Italians, you know, the Belgians, and you know the Nordic people, you know, all these so-called white people, man. You know, not all of them, but those that have the seed of Esau, man. They're all Edomites, man. All right, the Russians, man, the Edomites. Them Amalekites, man. The chief house, man. Alright? You know who we're talking about, them JOOs, man. So, there's a collective of Edomites, man. Right, let's finish off anyway. So, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Right, let's just get to the point now, man. This is verse 15. It says, for the day of the Lord Yahweh is near upon all the heathen, as thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head, for as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance. Once again, so there's that deliverance and that's from the chariots, man. And there shall be loneliness. That's the only way the elect to leave in the earth, is on chariots, man. And the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord Yahweh shall have spoken it. So there you go, man. And that's all I got on this. So, you know, all this edifying, man. You know, and I'll finish by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, Hashem Rakakadash, double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect. You know, Shalom.